Amazing day for justice, even though it would have been better for not guilty, even though it would have been better for an outright dismissal. That's not the justice system we live in. But what this is working out the best outcome that you could. This is Ty Tucker doing an amazing job without a law degree, without any training, and he got himself here. Hats off to the man. He did a hell of a job. And as somebody who's been around that process, I know more than I know more than anyone else how difficult it is to get an outcome like this, and appreciate it because of what I've seen in the history with my dad and the history around the legal system. And it's unheard of. My dad used to always say, you got to get a lawyer, right? If you don't get a lawyer, the judge will run all over you. And to a degree, the judge was running all over him. But guess what? Ty Tucker got an outcome that he liked. Ty Tucker got the best possible outcome that he could have, the smartest possible outcome. He was playing chess. Well, they were playing checkers in a sense, and he got them. He checkmated them, and he has, because the reality of the situation is what he's done here. A not guilty, they could have blamed it on the jury. An outright dismissal or some sort of procedural dismissal, like that, maybe if they would have let the 90-day rule accelerate, that wouldn't require any special. Now, an outright dismissal, now that would have also been obviously a saying, but next to an outright dismissal, this is almost like, how do you explain someone that you think is guilty of doing what he's alleged to have done, and you let this man walk out with no probation, no supervision, 910 days time served? He gave nothing back in return. Nothing back but his innocence. That's what happened here. There he's, like I said, next to them just outright dismissing. And I'm sure Mansfield and Alvarez explained and knew, and they said, listen, Ty, that's not happening. Dennis Ward will not do this. Rest assured, this was not a victory. This was a disastrous outcome. It is disastrous as it could be. It's, and worse than a not guilty. Because when you have to explain to your voters, when you have to explain to the people, when you have to explain to the governor that says, wait a minute, you're telling me that a private citizen with no law degree was such a formidable foe in court that you couldn't convict him with all this evidence that you claim to have? You took him to trial once, got a mistrial, he outflanked you there. So what's the deal here? Did you prosecute a not guilty guy? Did you prosecute an innocent man? Because it sure sounds like you did. And there's no louder way of saying that than what they just did here. Maybe they didn't think it through. I don't know. I think an outright dismissal would have been better here. But I think they knew that would have opened up the door right away in the civil actions and the people out here. And they know that they knew that at least for now, that the general public would not just go, oh, they dismissed it. People are going to have to dig a little deeper and take a little closer look, okay, at this, to understand it. But the reality is, this is a loud proclamation of his innocence, and I hope Ty will say that to everybody. I hope if he gets a chance to talk to Vinnie Politan and different people, that he makes it clear that this is the loudest way that the state of Florida could have said this man is innocent, because the disparity in the sentence he received versus what he's accused of doing, what he pled no loco tandre to, is he's alleged to have masked himself up. This is what the state of Florida is leaving with us, right? Anyone who thinks this means Ty Tucker is guilty, yeah. The state of Florida has said that a man can mask himself up, take a knife in, cut one person's neck, assault another. Remember, Phelps says he did all this. He's the guy. Stab another man in the back, kill him, rob him of $1,000 in drugs, and leave and go back. And they said the value of that, 2 people injured. Remember, there was a stabbing recently. Okay? A Florida judge, the Pearson case. 3 people got stabbed. No one died. That young man got a life without parole sentence. They had a mitigation hearing where they were asking for 12 years. It wasn't a robbery. It was a heat of passion situation. Life in prison, no parole. 3 people stabbed outside of Chubby's wings. And Ty Tucker walks into court and is given a plea bargain where he pleads no contest, is given 910 days, time served, no probation, no supervision, nothing. His fines are reduced to a civil lien, which means he'll never have to technically pay them. And he's allowed to walk out of court and leave the state of Florida a free man, completely free. There was no victim impact statement. No one was asked to come in. There was no probation report. There was nothing. There was a 5-minute hearing. If that is not the loudest statement of innocence that the state of Florida knows, they had an innocent man wrongfully accused, charged with 9 crimes. There is no louder way of saying it than that. Period. End of story. And you even heard the uncomfortable surprise in the judge's voice. And we're about to play this again for those of you that might not have been here earlier. The uncomfortable surprise in Judge Morgan's voice when he realizes, holy smokes, this was a downward departure. And the significance of that is lost on people who don't understand what that means. Because normally a downward departure would require a hearing, would require a showing of mitigation, a complete mitigation hearing. And the state agreed to it. And they agreed the mitigation was what? The mitigation was innocence. This is unprecedented. This is an unprecedented plea agreement. The magnitude of this and what just happened in a courtroom was, this is unheard of, guys. This is historical. This wasn't covered by anyone. This was done in a 5-minute hearing, shoved under. But we're going to at least bring light to it. We're going to give Ty the voice, and I hope Ty goes around, and I hope Vinnie Politan, who said he was going to cover it and never did, I hope Long Crime, who had the nerve to put that ridiculous judge up, who tried to say Ty Tucker was an arrogant jerk of a pro se defendant. I hope she eats her freaking words right now. I hope she explains and puts a video up explaining how the state of Florida stomachs a plea deal like that. How prosecutors who prosecute a man for 7 years can explain a plea deal like that. And the answer is they're sending the message. They're never going to explain it. And they're going to say the message is he's innocent. That's why they did this plea deal. All right.